Hi, it's Kednal. Ever since I was little, I remember my dad playing The Legend of Zelda while me and my siblings watched. It's not hard to tell that I'm a huge fan of the series. My favorite game of all time is Twilight Princess. I love the characters, their designs, the atmosphere, and the environment, basically everything about it. I haven't seen a lot of people on the internet doing this, but maybe I'm just not looking in the right places. But today, I want to start a series where I create my own Legend of Zelda story. It just makes sense for me because I love writing and drawing. I can't help myself but start by designing Link. Yeah, world building is really important, but also Link. I've decided to make him come from the same line as Link in Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time. In other words, Link from Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time are the ancestors of this Link. They'll show up in certain parts of the story to help guide him and teach him how to wield his weapon and the burden of, suddenly having to save the entire world. To start, I made 3 different full-body drawings of Link to experiment with his character design. I want him to be from a village beside the ocean, kind of like Lurelin Village in Breath of the Wild. If I pronounced that wrong. His ancestors will have moved here at some point from Ordon Village. Because he lives by the sea, I put a fish on 2 of the clothing designs with a string of pearls holding it. I asked my siblings to circle what part on each design that they liked to get some other opinions. My sister liked the hairstyle and earrings on the 3rd design and said she liked the fish on the 1st design. She liked the pants on the 3rd design the best, as well as the sandals, and her favorite tattoo was the one in the middle. My brother liked the shell necklace on the 1st design, the longer hair in the middle design, and the pants, sandals, and tattoo of the 3rd design. Personally, I liked the middle hair, though I am biased because I do love me a long-haired man, the shell necklace on the middle design, and the pants and sandals on the 3rd design, and the tattoo on the middle design. With that feedback in mind, I decided that the final design would have the hair in the middle, as well as the tattoo in the middle, the shell necklace from the 1st design, and the earrings, pants, and sandals of the 1st design. With all that information, I began the actual character sheet for Link. As I designed Link, I pondered on who exactly he would be and how he would align with the courage portion of the Triforce. Link lives in a yet-to-be-named seaside village with his mother and his younger brother. It is not a large village, and it is very close-knit. He spends a lot of his time spearfishing with his mother, who taught him how to spearfish. From spending lots of time throwing harpoons and reeling in fish, I think he'd have a well-toned upper body, though I did go back and change the size of his shoulders because I realized that they looked kind of absurd. From spearfishing, I think he would also have good reflexes, as some fish can be difficult to catch, and because he spends lots of time out in the sun, he will be pretty tan, so I made sure not to give him a super light skin tone. I'm not gonna do that. Because I'm not making a game, and I don't have to cater to a younger audience, I can explore some deeper themes in the story. For Link, I want to focus on the isolation and pain, both physical and emotional, that would actually come from having to save an entire world at a very young age. He's put in a position where there's usually only one other individual actually following him around and helping him, like Navi in Ocarina of Time or Fi in Skyward Sword. And in Breath of the Wild, he comes to realize that the people he knew are basically all dead. As the story progresses, my version of Link's physical appearance will be altered. He will look more exhausted and messy as time goes on. Even though he's a hero, his grief will at first cause him to neglect himself, something that will cause him to be taken advantage of at a first meeting with some big villain, Ganondorf, or something different. And after that meeting, he will have to take better care of himself and regain his footing to progress, recovering from his grief and accepting his destiny. In the games, it is hard for Link to actually get injured because then the gameplay would be altered, and if you were controlling a character that was injured, that would probably not be super fun. But in an actual story, I think that pain is unavoidable for Link. He won't be a warrior at the start, though he will definitely possess the qualities that eventually cause him to become a hero. I think having him be a spearfisher will also lend to this because he's using his strength to spear fish. I also want to play around with the idea of the location of physical injuries having some kind of significance metaphorically, which is an idea that I haven't fully developed yet, along with most of the story, but I'll continue playing around with that as I write. I have not fleshed out much of the story, but I do want his village, or at least the people inside of it, to be attacked. If he has suffered loss at the hands of Ganon personally, he will be more inclined to fulfill his role as a hero. Should I probably have decided more about the story before going into this character? Yeah, but I honestly just couldn't wait to, and I don't really have a better reason than that. For Link, I wanted to keep the sharp eyes and long nose that both Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess Link have in the artwork of their games, just because I think that those features are so striking and it's what makes me really like Link's design. And as a little homage to Link from Ocarina of Time, this Link has a middle part. In the design sketches you can see that I played around with different ways to part the hair, and originally I was going to part it from the side like in Twilight Princess, but I thought that his face was already so similar to Twilight Princess Link that it would just look too much like him. I'll have to design the tunic too, which I'll do in the next part of the series probably. The tattoo is a wave, and the meaning behind it is pretty obvious. I don't think I have to explain why, but it's because he lives in a seaside village. I thought giving a tattoo would just be kind of fun, because no other Links have tattoos. Also, as a subtle hint at the color of the Triforce of Courage, I also made his eyes green as opposed to blue, which is the color that they have been consistently throughout the Zelda series. I'll do this with Ganondorf and Zelda too. I think it's a nice little detail. I didn't give Link a shirt in this design, partially to show off the tattoo, but also because I think that since he's out spearfishing a lot, it just wouldn't make a lot of sense for him to be wearing a top all the time. His pants are high enough to wade in water without them getting immediately wet, and the red cloth over the top is honestly mainly aesthetic, but a possible use could be to untie it and use it to cover himself if he gets cold during the night, if he's still on a boat, or just out and around. The fish on the piece of fabric over the red cloth is a symbol that represents the entire village. I added a pearl string holding the fish fabric up because I want pearls to be used as accessories largely throughout the village and for jewelry that can be sold to travelers. Link's earrings are oddly shaped blue pearls as well. Blue earrings are a classic part of Link's design, but I wanted to add my own little twist on it since they're usually just a blue hoop. While I designed Link, I also designed some details about his village and the community that he's grown up with. Since the community is close-knit, the village is full of people helping one another, which is a quality that he will also end up picking up. People go spearfishing together and look for pearls together, along with other things from the sea. A coral reef is located in the water by the village, so there is a very diverse assortment of things to find. I mentioned that the village sells pearl jewelry, and they'd probably also sell a lot of seafood, because that just makes sense. I also love the culture around hot pots, so to make the community even closer, I think it'd be fun for all of them to gather and eat hot pot together once a week with the food that they catch in the sea. The whole village will know Link, and Link will know the whole village, which will only make them being attacked more painful for him. Also, the shell necklace Link is wearing was given to him by his mother. When he was young, his mother took him to the edge of the sea, and he found a small spiral-shaped shell that he really liked, so his mother took it home and turned it into a necklace for him. This was unintentional with the shell, but actually, upon looking up a picture of the symbol of the Triforce of Courage, I realized that the spiral of the shell actually kind of resembles the symbol, so I'm going to pretend that that was intentional because I think that's kind of cool. The sandals have a design of a fish on the front of them. Because Link lives on a beach, it makes sense for him to have this kind of footwear, but it isn't loose enough so that he can still run and move through water without worrying if his shoes are going to fall off. I may go back and decrease just how muscular he is because I honestly think I made him look kind of like a bodybuilder unintentionally, and that is definitely not what I was going for, so I'm gonna probably slim him up a little bit. Beside the full body front and back drawings of Link, I also put two small headshots. The first one I drew is what I think he will look like when he's at a lower point in the story. His eyes are red and sleepless with deep bags, his hair is disheveled, and overall he looks lonely and despondent. The shines in his eyes are also gone, making them look dim. Below that is a headshot of him just smiling with his eyes closed. I didn't choose to draw it for any reason specifically, other than that I wanted to draw him with his eyes closed. Also, I literally just realized that I forgot to put Link's upper arm tattoo on the back. I'm gonna have to go in and fix that. It wouldn't be me if I didn't have to go back and change a few things after I finished the speed paint. but things like the hair, clothing, face shape, etc. are probably going to stay the exact same. After I finished the reference sheet for Link, I created a black and white expression sheet to get a feel for how his face would emote. You can see that I'm also playing around with a different way of filming the drawing. The quality of this video is better than the other one, but it also moves around a lot. I tried to keep it as still as possible because when it comes to flipping the canvas all around, I'm very guilty, but that wouldn't be very fun to watch. The other nice thing about filming it like this is you can actually see the brushstrokes that I'm making on the screen, which I do like. I'm still figuring out the best way to do everything. Again, this is all very new to me. Anyways, I drew 9 different emotions that range in intensity. Going from top left to bottom right, there is smiling, neutral, annoyed or uneasy, excited, sad, angry, shocked, tearful, and furious. I also had to find a way to add Epona, Link's horse, into the story, because Link is going to be traveling through a lot of land and he will definitely need a horse to do so. So I decided that there will be a stable near the village. The villagers all take turns helping out with the horses, again adding more community building and responsibility, and they can use the horses when needed. It doesn't really make a lot of sense for Link to have his own individual horse because he'll be spending most of his time in the ocean, but it does make sense that an entire village would probably need a few horses for transport outside of the village, and one of the horses inside of the stable will be Epona. You can see me using the liquify tool a lot while drawing in Procreate. I don't like to do line art, and because I don't really do that and I only have one layer, it's easier if I just push around the drawing with the liquify tool until I think it looks good, because if I just like circled it and tried to drag it away, I'd have gaps in the drawing that I'd have to fill, and that wouldn't be very fun. And I'm lazy, so I don't really want to redraw the entire thing if I accidentally mess up like a tiny part of the eye. I just want to be able to fix it real quick. I actually don't do expression sheets for characters a lot, but I might end up doing them more often in the future, and I'll definitely do them for the more significant characters in this story because I have a way better understanding of how he would actually express himself throughout different drawings. I don't know why I haven't been doing them. I've just been too lazy. And with that, the expression sheet is finished. I like the outcomes of both drawings, though I do need to alter a few aspects of the design in the first one, so in the next part I might give an updated version if I go back and change stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video.